Okay, so as I said, the Supreme Court looked at the Texas election case. The Texas election case, which claimed that Pennsylvania illegally expanded mail-in voting. They basically said Pennsylvania unconstitutionally expanded mail-in voting, and we want to sue them as Texas. Now, this is a problem, and I'm not a lawyer, but I follow, like, the legal subreddit to read lawyers' opinions on stuff like this, because, as it turns out, expert opinions are a good thing to get before you file lawsuits. And every lawyer there basically said, this is ridiculous, this is unfounded, they have no standing to do this. One state has absolutely no right to tell another state how to run their elections, because the states run their own elections as per the Constitution of the United States. And what do you know? That's exactly what the court said. So we'll take a look at this document and read the very short response from the court that's, I would call it a page long, but it's formatted with very wide margins, so more like 2 paragraphs, but we'll take a look. Tucker White 94, 20 bits. Please have something for me. I need a distraction from the hell that is Tennessee football. Hopefully this'll distract you. And then Tucker White 94, 20 bits. I'm not even a lawyer and I could have told you this lawsuit was ridiculous. Yeah. So here's what it says. Friday, December 11th, 2020. Order in pending case. Texas v. Pennsylvania. The state of Texas's motion for leave to file a bill of complaint is denied for lack of standing under Article 3 of the Constitution. Texas has not demonstrated a judicially Texas has not demonstrated a judicially cognizable interest in the manner in which another state conducts its elections. All other pending motions are dismissed as moot. Statement of Justice Alito, with whom Justice Thomas joins. In my view, we do not have discretion to deny the filing of a bill of complaint in a case that falls within our original jurisdiction. See Arizona v. California, 589 U.S. It's just a citation for a different case. I would therefore grant the motion to file the bill of complaint, but would not grant other relief, and I express no view on any other issue. I'm gonna butcher the Latin if I try it, so I'm not gonna. So let me explain what this basically says after I read some of these bit messages. The Ender 92 with 20 bits. Is the irony lost on these Texans, the state of F you, your state's rights, were Texas trying to meddle in other states' elections? It's so good. Oh, they're hypocrites. They're absolute hypocrites. Obo1 with 50 bits. While you were doing the last segment, I looked up instances of voter fraud in 2020, and as you can guess, the vast majority, if not all, were by Republicans. That typically happens. They believe that because they're told by right-wing media that Democrats are cheating, they then justify their own cheating as individuals. It's ridiculous. Tucker White 94, ridiculous lawsuit should be a space on the bingo card. Probably should be. So anyway, like I said, the Supreme Court basically said, hey, we're not going to waste our time with this. Texas has no right to dictate how Pennsylvania runs its lawsuits. However, Alito and Thomas said, we would hear the case because it's a case of original jurisdiction. For those who don't know, the Supreme Court is a court of appeal, right? So typically, you don't start your case in the Supreme Court. You start in the lower courts, and then it gets, you know, tried and tried and tried up to the Supreme Court if you keep appealing and if they choose to take the case. However, there are instances where the Supreme Court is a court of original jurisdiction, and that is the case when one state sues another state, then that case goes to the Supreme Court. So oh, hello, kitty. So Alito and Thomas basically said, we don't think we have the right to deny you to file the case in the first place because it's an original jurisdiction thing for us. However, they also go on to say, we would therefore not grant the motion to file the bill of complaint, but would not grant other relief, meaning we don't think we can legally deny you the right to file this, but we wouldn't. You basically saying, but your lawsuit's bullshit anyway, we still wouldn't help you. So, basically 9-0, but it's, you know, 2 of them said they at least wanted to let them file the case before they slapped it down. So that's interesting. Now, it's important for us to take a look at someone on the right, who I'm not the biggest fan of, as you all know, Styx. Styx is probably real mad about this, so we're going to go ahead and see what he has to say, shall we?
Alright everyone, we start off They talking about SCOTUS dismissing the initial Texas case. It's a little bit more complex than that. It doesn't even technically deny the possibility of them taking up a case in a slightly reformed manner, but I'll get into that. For those...
He's very wrong on that. The Supreme Court said to them, "You are Texas. Texas cannot sue Pennsylvania for the way they run their election." End of lawsuit.
Those of you watching on YouTube, I would ask that you look at the pinned comment or the links in the description. I create videos on 5 different video sites, and the other 4 being Rumble.
The Under 92 says, Styx has quickly become my favorite idiot fascist to laugh at. Yeah, that's very funny. Tucker White 94, why are you not a fan of Styx? His views on the occult help me see the darkness.
Odyssey, BitChute, and Dailymotion. YouTube is algorithmically manipulating its results and shadow banned me. For instance, I'm not visible to new users who aren't already subscribed. Notifications are...
Let's take a look, shall we? Kitty, I gotta type. I need that hand. Let's do an incognito tab. Can you see this incognito window? No, hold on. I'm gonna have to change it. Nope, that's Streamlabs. Ooh, incognito tab. What are we going to be doing? Tucker White 94, citation needed. YouTube.com. Let's look at Styx. Let's see how hard it is to find Styx. Styx and Hammer. Okay, that's right. I'm on an incognito tab, right? So it's not tracking any of my shit. I'm not signed into my account. And I write Styx and his video comes up, and it says Styx and Hammer 666 Brexit, Styx and Hammer Nick Fuentes, Styx and Hammer 666 Nick Fuentes, right? Boom, there he is. What do you mean they're hiding you, Styx? I can see you in an incognito tab. If you mean they're not recommending you, sure, they're probably not. You're a fascist, Styx. You're a gross fascist. Now let me switch back to the other window.
Are by default off for all people, it seems, and so they're trying to starve me on the site. Those sites don't abuse me. So if you want to follow me on one of those, or if you do prefer YouTube, I would ask that you share the link to this video out on some other platform where it will be searchable, because again, it's not on YouTube.
I am giving the kitty attention, by the way. You can't see it, but I am petting the cat below the camera, for the record.
Getting that out of the way, I hate to have to say that every morning at this point, for the foreseeable future. This particular case, and this is without dissent, this is a unanimous 9-0 decision, including all 3 of the justices Trump put on SCOTUS, which...
Honestly, I'm glad he's at least admitting that. I've seen some right-wing sources be like, it wasn't really 9-0. 2 of them dissented, when really, no, they dissented on procedural grounds, again, saying that they thought they had to at least let them file the lawsuit, but they still wouldn't have granted, but no. The decision was 9-0 because they said even if we had them file this, we wouldn't grant any relief.
It's funny because I was told that they would be tyrants and they would do everything Trump wanted. It's almost like the judicial...
No, I think more the criticism is that these people are going to be corporatist right-wing ideologues and also people who might try and overturn things like Roe v. Wade, right? It was possible, I guess, that some people thought that they were going to try and give Trump the election, but I more saw that kind of thinking from the right that tended to think that the Supreme Court justices would be loyal to Trump specifically. I have no belief that the Supreme Court is loyal to any particular Republican, but I do think someone like Amy Coney Barrett is... How do I put this? I think she feels that it's her job to serve right-wing interest, not necessarily the interest of individual right-wingers, but, like, again, if she can overturn Roe v. Wade, I think she'll do so in a heartbeat. Amateur Hardest with 100 bits. Where's the goalpost now that Trump lost? Love your content, Hannah. The goalposts, I can't even see them anymore. They're so far removed from where they started. Indiscernible. CA Corner with 20 bits. Gay marriage is also another big one. A couple justices have said they'd like to overturn that. Yeah, really, really ridiculous. That would go badly. Mark Zuckerberg, 240. Thank you for subscribing with Prime with a 3-month streak.
judiciary is actually independent and the worst concerns of the left have been continuously wrong. This is a procedural decision. Let me explain. The dismissal of this case has to do with the fact that Texas, which is the initial plaintiff and joined by other states on this case against Pennsylvania and these other groups, it didn't have the standing. The idea is that the state of Texas at large,
there's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Legal capability doesn't have the right to legally challenge the election proposals and situation of other states. I believe they are now attempting to retool it to have a different listed plaintiff.
Again, for the record, the Electoral College meets on Monday. They're not going to file a new lawsuit, get it to the Supreme Court, and then grant relief by Monday. It's over. Why are you wasting the court's time? Tucker White, 94 with 20 bits. Let's be honest. The stooges Trump appointed to the Supreme Court serve the interest of the billionaires. Trumpism is just a means to an end, not the end itself. Yeah. They're Federalist Society judges. So.
Essentially take the same basic case and put it forward, and then Texas as a state, I guess, can join on to it afterwards. I believe they are attempting to do that at this time. Technically speaking, the SCOTUS decision is correct. Technically speaking, the state of Texas, I agree that the Constitution of the United States, the Electors Clause, in combination with some of what happened in these states, I do agree that it violated those states' constitutions and the U.S. Constitution. But you have to have a plaintiff. It's like, for example, if I think person A has abused person B, I can't start a case against person A as the plaintiff and sue on person B's behalf. I would be found to have no standing in the court because I can't be a plaintiff because I'm not an aggrieved.
Lupine, there's a kitty, so I'm gonna try and discredit Styx, okay? But you gotta discredit the Chud kitty because I don't speak kitty, okay? Meow meow. Tucker White 94 20 bits. What do you mean it's over, Hannah? There's still more money to milk from this idiocy. Yeah, they're still sending a bunch of campaign emails to Trump supporters to get money from them. So, at what point are people going to stop giving money to Donald Trump? You'd think at some point they'd realize it's not going to work out for them. Who knows, though?
Party. I can join on and I can go give evidence, I can state things in support of person B, but they would have to, in that case, start the case. The problem is that Texas itself cannot directly be aggrieved by another state's election laws, even if they are within the context of that state illegal. You need a plaintiff.
They're not illegal within the context of the state.
Who is aggrieved.
As far as I understand, and I could be wrong here, but from what I understand, basically the grievance claimed by Texas involved the Pennsylvania Constitution saying specific times and circumstances under which Pennsylvania must provide mail-in ballots to people. And they're saying, well, it doesn't have, you know, a pandemic as one of those things. The problem, of course, being that it says when they must provide them. It doesn't say when they can provide them. So that's the bare minimum in their constitution, not the end-all, be-all of when they can provide mail-in ballots to people. So from the get-go, it's a really bad, really dumb complaint. Amateur Hardest with 20 bits. Even when Biden's hand is on the Bible and is sworn in, these morons will say Trump still has a path to victory. Oh, I'm sure. At some point, I think they will shift. Oh, Trump will be back in 2024. I'm not sure exactly when, though.
In order to take the case forward. I would think, ironically enough, that would require having a litigant in the state of Pennsylvania initially for that state and also individuals in these other states. Now that won't be hard to do. There are plenty of political figures there, plenty of constituents there that would feel aggrieved. They can potentially sign on to a case. Texas can certainly file off evidence, give testimony, you know, through their, attorney general or whoever they would be sending. I believe it would be their AG. They can file a brief with the court. They can make it clear that they construe it that way, but they can't be directly aggrieved by the voting practices of another state. That being said, the fact that this was unanimous and rather brisk it is a bad sign, certainly, for anyone who supports Donald Trump, because it shows what the court is leaning towards. The problem with
constitutionality, is that a problem for Donald Trump? I'd agree. Just seems weird to admit.
SCOTUS simply not taking up the case is that the whole population right now feels completely alienated. I would think that it's in...
No. Trump supporters who are getting their news from places like One America, News Network, Newsmax, and potentially even Fox News feel that way. Most of the population is like, God, can Biden just be inaugurated already? I'm so sick and tired of this stuff. Emphasis on tired. I think we're all just so tired after the last 4 years. Tucker White 94 with 20 bits. Meant to be read in dumb redneck voice. What do you mean, Hanner? Dat der George Soros, blessed be his name, used dat der Necronomicon to raise Hugo Chavez from the dead, bringing the Fibonacci's revulsion, the Fimboy revolution. That's what it is.
SCOTUS' best interest, regardless of what their decision is, to eventually take the case up. If there's no actual legitimate plaintiff, though, on the docket, because one state can't sue another for that reason, you have to try again. There's no guarantee that if they take the same case, file it with a different plaintiff, that SCOTUS won't immediately hear it. I'm sure that some of the justices there in SCOTUS would like to. They'd like to weigh in on it. At the very least, SCOTUS can do some healing for half the population. If you've got half the population in a hyper-political climate, hyper-partisan climate as well, very polarized, I would think it'd be better to have half the population feel okay than 0% of the population. Because right now it seems like everyone's alienated.
No, they're not, Styx. No, they're not. Half the population, I would argue even a slight majority, considering, you know, Joe Biden won the election by 7 million votes, is completely fine with this and are very annoyed with Donald Trump. You feel like everyone feels aggrieved because you spend all your time on BitChute and Parler in echo chambers, and we all do that to an extent. But if Styx legitimately thinks 99 to 100% of the population feels disenfranchised right now, he is a lunatic. He is out of his mind and has not been paying attention anywhere outside of right-wing circle jerks. Crizio with 100 bits, they already did that. Mark Kelly from Pennsylvania got the one-sentence denial. We've all seen these elections before, only the chuds are acting like this one was somehow amazingly special and stolen. Yeah, it's frustrating. I wonder what's going to happen in 2024. Let's say Trump doesn't run, or if he's dead of old age, or whatever. Like, are they gonna, is this just the standard now? Are Republicans just never gonna concede from now on because Trump has poisoned the party?
Frothing with anger at everything.
Let me clarify. Trump hasn't poisoned the party. Trump is a result of decades of propaganda from places like Rush Limbaugh and Fox News, and now One America, News Network, and Newsmax. He's a symptom, not the disease.
Trump does, still blaming him for the sky falling.
Altered Rin with 25 bits. I won an election in a landslide, but remember, I only think in terms of legal votes, not all those fake voters and fraud that miraculously floated in from everywhere. What a disgrace, Big Orange Baby Man 2020.
Trump fans feel cheated. SCOTUS can only side with one side, but at least that side will have some closure. At least some of the population will go back to reasonable levels of normal. And SCOTUS, as I pointed out, should act in its own self-interest. I mean, it's clearly, I do have a bias in this case based on my understanding of the election, the shenanigans that totally didn't happen in the election. It was totally fair, by the way. Hey, YouTube, don't ban me, bro. In the very fair election, very, very proper, with no irregularities whatsoever, wink, wink, honk, honk, there were things that went on.
I don't think he's supposed to be doing that. Don't think he's supposed to be doing that at all.
That disturbed certain people in the population. You have an individual, and there's only one of them, because there are only 2 people here eligible for the position. One of these individuals is not going...
Yeah, for those who don't know, the honk honk thing is a dog whistle. It's a clown world meme. clown world being a pretty often used meme by white supremacists. Amateur hardest with 30 bits. You fools. Kanye West won. He was the only one who got legal votes. Logarth. Chud watch. And then Tucker White 94 20 bits. I'm a little wasted, so my analysis probably ain't worth shit, but it sounds like Styx has reached the acceptance stage. I don't know. He's still claiming election fraud. I don't know, though. Who knows?
Going to expand SCOTUS. The other one won't say whether or not he intends to do so, and in fact is being goaded by his own party.
I think it would be good if Biden expanded the Supreme Court. Harry K5 with 20 bits. I saw a poll from Newsmax via Kyle Kalinske that said if Trump doesn't run in 2024, it's going to be either Pence or Jr. Pence will probably be the compromise, while Jr. doesn't have the charisma of his father and will probably have a tough time in the general. Whenever they do polls on who's going to run in 4 years, it's never super accurate to how the primaries are going to turn out, so we'll see. We'll see. Logarth with 20 bits, at least he's showered and changed out of the bathrobe. True. That's good for his health, I suppose.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Cacao Juniper, thank you for subscribing at Tier 1.
Members want him to do so. To expand SCOTUS as a legal workaround.
Tucker White asks, Trump has charisma. I would say Trump has negative charisma, but it's charisma that appeals to people who have grievances with progressives. They like that Trump is abrasive because they think it triggers the libs, which they're not wrong by. Any reasonable person would be very annoyed by anyone who acts like Donald Trump, but that's a bonus to them. They like that Donald Trump gets on people's nerves.
Permanently subjugate the judiciary to the executive branch, essentially nullifying the need for a Supreme Court altogether, by the way, for political reasons. The precedent it would set would be nation killing. The precedent it would set would be, the worst travesty and injustice of at least this century within politics. It would be blatantly a terrible idea. Essentially what you're saying is that any president, as long as they have the will of the legislator in a simple majority, can run roughshod over the Constitution any way that they happen to want for purely political reasons, and that's perfectly okay, without giving any compelling reason whatsoever as to the necessity of growing or shrinking the court. It doesn't really make sense. The judiciary is specifically there to try to stop unconstitutional legislation and executive action. It's there as a stopgap against the other branches of government. If those branches, for purely political reasons, attempt to subjugate SCOTUS, it would lead to a constitutional crisis. It could lead to a civil war. I think that SCOTUS should have...
I don't think sticking like 3 more people on the Supreme Court would lead to a civil war. I really don't.
Act in pragmatic benefit of the nation, and in pragmatic benefit of the standing of their court, and defend themselves against a potential road.
I don't think it's unreasonable considering the population growth we've had since the last time the court added people. I don't think it's unreasonable to say, hey, we should probably have at least a few more viewpoints on the court, and it shouldn't be so divided, especially considering we live in such a partisan age where half the country is, you know, liberal left-leaning and the other half is super far right-leaning. Having a court that's, like, super lopsided isn't going to end well. So I think it would behoove people in power, whether it's Biden or someone else, to put some more people on the court.
Executive branch and decide the election in that manner. And of course, if you look at the actual Constitution, if you look at the Texas case, it does have legal merit. This is not about rigging.
It doesn't. You know how I know that? The Supreme Court rejected it.
Or tabulation errors or anything like that. It's not even really about the election results in and of themselves. It's purely procedural. This decision is purely procedural, and it's
procedural in the sense that Texas cannot decide the results of Pennsylvania's election, which is what they were trying to do. That was the material point of the case. So I don't really care if you want to call that procedural or not. It's not going to fly, nor is some other new lawsuit. Especially considering, again, the Electoral College meets on Monday. That's 2 days from now. A court case isn't going to go through the system in 2 days and get to the Supreme Court. It's like in Back to the Future 2 when they're like, Biff Tannen and his accomplices have been arrested, tried, and sentenced within 4 hours. And Marty's like, 4 hours? And Doc's like, justice is swift now that in the future we've abolished all lawyers. Which I think should get brought up more in Back to the Future 2 discussions. Apparently Back to the Future 2, the future with the hoverboards and stuff is dystopian, where people can't get legal representation and the court just moves them through in 4 hours. But hoverboards and cool hats, so whatever.
Funny how you've seen over the last month the evolution of all of these cases from their initial claims, which were kind of wacky with like the Sidney Powell Kraken bullshit, up till now where it's largely constitutional arguments. This is what this represents. But you need a proper plaintiff. The court, this is another thing, and people don't often understand about courts. You need to have a complaint being made by a proper party. The court can't simply look at a piece of legislation from 100 years ago and unilaterally decide one day to nullify it. They have to have an actual aggrieved party. They can't simply take up any issue that they want under the sun based on a simple 5-4 majority saying that they should. The Supreme Court cannot operate in that manner. This is why it was always funny. Remember when Kavanaugh was there being considered, and they're like, well, if he gets on the court, he's going to take Roe v. Wade and destroy it. No, the court has to take up a case against Roe v. Wade first for that.
Again, there are already cases that the certain states, red states, are trying to push through that would be basically that. Like, it's not just happenstance that these cases get brought to the Supreme Court. There are specific lobbyists and stuff and organizations that find cases that will push forward, like judicial precedents that they like. They will then take those up and foster them to try and get them to the Supreme Court. Like, that's a thing that happens.
To even be a feasible possibility. And I found it funny that his first major decision, of course, was a 180 from that. Actually
Kitty.
Refusing to hear cases that
She was sitting on the space bar.
It's interesting how the liberals are consistently wrong on judicial matters. I think
Styx didn't know that you'd have to provide evidence to the opposing counsel like a week ago. We did a whole video on how he doesn't understand how discovery works. And he's like, the left doesn't understand judicial matters. Also, Giuliani isn't showing evidence because he wants to surprise the defense in court.
That SCOTUS tossing this case procedurally is correct, although, you know, it would have been nice if it had gone forward. But I don't think you've seen the end of it. I think they will probably retool the basic same claim, which
again, Styx, they won't in 2 days. Tucker White, 94, 20 bits. Why is it dystopian futures in films like Demolition Man and Idiocracy are still more awesome than the dystopian future of reality? I think a lot of it's because they have, like, cool technology, which we do too, you know. It's just... Where'd my phone go? We do too, but it's not as flashy. It's stuff like phones instead of hoverboards, you know?
which has the same basic legal basis. They'll just have to find someone who's actually aggrieved. Those people will have to come from within the states that are initially being complained against.
How are you going to find someone in Pennsylvania who is aggrieved legally by providing people mail-in ballots? Like, what's the grievance there? Oh no, you made it easier for people to vote. I've been damaged in some way. It falls flat on its face. It makes no sense.
I don't think it could be some random Texan, because they're not... I mean, a Texan can't sue Pennsylvania based on its state laws. It would have to come from within those states. Thankfully, there are plenty of people within those states, many millions of them, who can potentially sign on to such a thing. I also think, at this particular time, people should be contacting their representatives and governors and asking them to try to compel SCOTUS to give closure on this. The decision itself matters considerably less than the decision is actually issued. The decision itself matters considerably less than the decision is actually issued. For the purpose...
The kitty wants to stop the chuds, apparently. She keeps stepping on the keyboard.
Purposes of holding the nation together. You've got Texas and other states openly fomenting secessionary rhetoric at this point.
Again, it's illegal for a state to secede. If they tried, the military would be called very, very quickly. It would go badly for them. Icky420, thank you for following.
And not just like, oh, well, a group of cowboy hat wearers with lassos and stuff started talking about the Lone Star State and the need to return to the Texas Republic. No, I mean legislators, people in government, people with official taxpayer-funded positions are at least sort of in a sideways manner talking about secession, along with these other states. Now, while I don't think that's actually going to happen, that tends to be a relatively limited proportion of the population, it's no secret that at this particular point, we have at least as much social alienation as the worst moments we've had in the last 100 years. And it is approaching, although it's still a distance off, the rhetoric you saw during the antebellum period. The rhetoric that you saw in the political circles over the slave debate, over secession then, over state sovereignty versus federalism. You're beginning to see...
Is Styx unironically doing the states' rights meme? Styx, the Civil War was over states' rights to keep slaves. It wasn't just over, like, federalism versus states. Fuck you. Voss and Raven with 20 bets. Kitty is pausing for you to make commentary. That makes her our producer, right? Are you? Are you our producer? She says yes. Yes, she is the producer.
That kind of rhetoric. Well, my hope is, and my expectation is, if I was a betting man, there won't be a civil war over the issue of the 2020 election. It's moving towards that direction in such a way that it makes enough cause for concern to want cooler heads to prevail. And it is possible.
Cooler heads to prevail, aka a bunch of chuds screaming because they didn't get their way in a democratic election. Lupine is the new Jamie. Lupine, pull up the picture of the elk we killed. Pull up the picture. We miss you too, Baja.
Look, war breaks out when two states fail diplomacy. Civil war breaks out when states, federal government, some state body internally fails to negotiate with the public and do what it needs to do. It's a failure of statism. It's a failure of statehood. When you have a divisive incoming administration, probably, which is the Beijing-Biden administration.
My goodness. Biden, the most milquetoast corporatist centrist in decades, is divisive to these people. Bonkers. Endlid of 20 bets. Whenever I hear someone say the Civil War was over states' rights, I always ask them if the conflict would have still been fought if slavery wasn't a factor. Would the Confederacy really have gone to war if it was just different ideas related to governance? I don't think so. More than that, I mean, the secession, like, documents of the states talk about the fact that it's slavery. The vice president of the Confederacy wrote a whole thing like, we are the first country to create itself with slavery at the heart of its constitution. Like, they talked about it, guys. Anyone who claims that the Civil War wasn't about slavery is straight up doing revisionist history, and they don't know what they're talking about. Or they're intentionally obfuscating the truth to push forward, you know, racist rhetoric.
That wants to run roughshod over the Constitution and won't even tell people whether it intends to do that by stacking the judiciary, that causes problems.
Does Styx understand that secession is illegal and has been since 1865? No idea.
Peace out.
Styx is ridiculous.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Tucker White 94, 20 bits. I'm white and I'm male, so I can use my white male privilege to jump to reality where Joe Biden is the communist right-wing dumbfuck he says he is. Give it a shot. Good luck. Yeah, that sticks, though. It does seem like he's getting to acceptance, although obviously that acceptance comes with a big heaping spoonful of a bunch of disingenuous rhetoric. Anyway, moving on.